going to start with saying that the term earthing and the term grounding, for the purposes of this conversation, are synonymous. Being a complete nature lover and a lover of the earth and a believer in the connection of ourselves and the earth living together is something that I believe in. So when I heard about earthing, my initial instinct was to say, yeah, duh, earthing exists. But what did I really know about earthing? I really didn't. In my mind, the concept of earthing was that we spend time in nature, and by spending time in nature, it is helping us in a lot of different ways. Just breathing the air and feeling calmer and breathing fresh air, being around the intense oxygen released by all of these lovely trees, and walking physically, getting our bodies moving physically. So all of these things to me would, constitute what earthing would mean to me. But I said, hey, what is this? Let me take a little bit further look into earthing. And what I found is the concept of earthing is just a little bit more than that. According to the theory of earthing, our feet on the bare earth without wearing rubber soles, or our hands touching the trees, hugging the trees that are in the ground, or even our fingers digging in the dirt. So gardening and digging and being connected here with the earth, touching the earth. That the earth, by us touching it, is sending electrons up into our body, negative electrons that are absorbed in our body. The absorption of the electrons does not happen if we're wearing rubber soles. So the theory is that the invention of rubber-soled shoes is creating a barrier to our absorption of the electrons. So my shoes here have a nice big rubber sole. So that rubber sole is creating a barrier by which our body is no longer able to absorb the electrons from the earth. If you look back decades and decades and decades ago in history, there were no shoes way back when, and it has been presented that the increase of chronic inflammatory diseases has come about mostly on the rise after the invention of these rubber-soled shoes. You and I and the earth exist together in a way in which our connection, physical connection to the earth, allows electrons generated by the earth to be absorbed into our body that help us physically with what ails us. The concept that the earth generates this electricity, if you will, that is a negative charge that offsets the positive charge in us. The positive charge of all the electricity in our lives, all that static, all the cell phones, tech, everything. That this charge from the earth can help us with inflammatory diseases. It can help us sleep better. Sounds great to me, and I'm a nature lover, so, I want this to be true. So do I want to believe this? I want to believe this. And so we're going to take a look at it. Is it real? Does it exist? Can it really help us? What does research tell me? What do I believe? And then what do you believe? So I hope that in watching this video, you, number one, get an understanding of what this thing earthing is, of which, everybody talks about. Number two, you learn some of the facts. So what has been presented out there, what studies have been done, what have those studies found to be true, what do those studies, claim that they're proving? Who has debunked them, right? So who has come out and said, yeah, okay, but this is what that research says, but. And so I looked into the debunking, and then I tried to debunk the debunker. So did a whole lot of research here on earthing. And I have a definite belief of earthing that I will share with you by the end of that. So for now, let's start our little journey and let me share with you a little bit about earthing. The first thing I did in my journey to learn more about earthing is I pulled up as many studies as I could find on earthing. Studies that would show to me where the proof is behind earthing, so that I am relying on individuals much more intelligent, that are much more scientific data than just my thought of, hey, of course, like if I stand on the earth, like it matters. So let's dig in and get a little bit more science behind it. In the links below, I link to the studies that I reference where different individuals in the study were used to try and prove different theories. So you'll see illustrations and pictures of wounds and how these wounds weren't healing, and by the attachment of electrodes pulling in electrons from the earth being attached to the wounds actually helped heal the wounds. There is data from study that shows how there was an impact on cortisol levels in the bodies of some of the study participants. Now, this impact on the cortisol levels led to better sleep, falling asleep faster, sleeping better quality of sleep. There are also connections in the study where it is stating that it is proving the fact that earthing has an effect on on chronic inflammatory diseases. That there is an effect on the free radicals that are running around in our bodies. And so for a layman's term of free radicals, because that's what my term would be, they're like these rogue cells that are like running around in our bodies. And when you have too many of them and they build up, they can lead to disease. They can lead to cancer. They can lead to all sorts of diseases. The earthing reduce the amount of free radicals running amok in our systems. And so I'm reading through this article and I am like, holy moly, sign me up. Like, I am sold. I am looking at these charts and I'm looking at these graphs, and it's hurting my brain to think about all these concepts, and I must have like researched 5,000 times all the different words they were using and descriptions they were giving so that I could understand it. And by the end of this article, I was convinced. I was completely convinced that earthing, bringing these negative electrons into my body, would absolutely, without a doubt, help with my inflammation. It would help me to sleep better. It would help to get rid of these free radicals in my body. And basically, at the end of the day, it's going to have a lot of positive effects on me. And so I should incorporate earthing, or grounding as they call it, every single day in my life. The article also did show a lot about earthing products or grounding products, mats that you can go out and buy. You plug them into, basically get plugged into the earth, or they get plugged into the electrical outlet of the grounding outlet. So you don't go into like the two spokes, that are right next to each other. Don't do that. The one that's behind it, the round circle, is the grounding one. And so you plug them into there. And by doing that, it is pulling from the earth the negative electrons that you need. So theoretically, there's a lot of things here that are making sense for me. Okay, so for starters, we ground our houses to the ground. So I get what a ground wire is. And so obviously the earth is grounding it. So, okay, this whole grounding theory, that makes sense on that note. It's been proven that trees communicate to each other. So trees communicate through their root systems, and they communicate, through the leaves, and they communicate through the earth, and trees communicate to each other. So if trees can communicate to each other and they communicate through the earth, why would I believe that a human body doesn't communicate and that the earth doesn't communicate? And why would I ever believe that we're not connected? So now I'm feeling really good. I'm thinking, okay, now we got some data behind it. I'm reading these study results, and I'm thinking logically, this is totally making sense to me. So the next step now is to debunk it, which I went out on the great World Wide Web to begin my search, and I definitely found some debunkers. I found some individuals who are extremely passionately, almost aggressively against earthing. They point out a few things that definitely had me questioning earthing. Number one, the biggest thing that I feel spoke to me is that the earthing book that I held up to you, you'll notice it's written by Clinton Ober, and there are, there's a foreword there, and there is commentary, and there's also 2 other authors that wrote the book with him. It just so happens that they're the same people that funded the research that was proving to me that earthing exists. So right there, I'm like, oh, that's like bummer, man. Really bummer. Is this all for monetary gain? Is this all really done just to prove to me that I should buy the mat that they're selling? Not only that, the articles that I was reading, and again, you can find the links down below to all of these, they were pointing out the fact that the findings of these studies were published in journals that are not, I guess, recognized in the scientific or medical world. So that apparently some of the places that the studies were published, you can pay to get them published. So now I'm thinking, oh, great, got one over on me. I was almost ready to buy that mat, like bummer. So the debunking article also had some things that I didn't necessarily feel like I was connected with. Like, I understand that there are things in the world that we can't always prove. I do believe in universal energy. I believe a lot in what quantum physics states. I believe that we are all connected through energy. I believe what I do and what I give out in the world affects you and others in the world. And so when you're looking at the debunking, a lot of times they talk about pseudoscience, and granted, there's definitely legitimacy there. There's definitely some pseudoscience, but not everything is pseudoscience. And do we always have to be able to objectively and systematically prove something? Because some things can't be proven. So I did give some legitimacy to these debunkers. I said, all right, so now I see what you're saying, that the studies could have been really, they didn't have good controls. What they're saying is being proven, really isn't being proven. And I looked up a few different sources. I spent quite a lot of time, and I was coming up with the same things. The same people that were for earthing were stating the same results of the same studies. And the people that were against earthing were against it for all the same reasons, citing all the same sources. So I kind of sat back and I said, okay, at first I was like, okay, now I'm out. Like, I'm looking at these debunkers, I'm out. Like, thank God I didn't buy that mat. Thank God I didn't buy those earthing shoes, because I don't believe in them. They're all crazy. There's no direct connection. So where does this all leave me? Okay, and where does it leave you? I'm sharing with you studies that are proving that earthing exists, and I've shared the links below so you can read them. And I am sharing with you the debunking of them from medical professionals, and again, the links are below so you can see them. I'm also sharing below YouTube videos from 2 different individuals, both gentlemen who I just loved both of their videos, and I think they give some great information on earthing, and in their videos they show you how electrons can be measured in the earth. So and they can be measured in our bodies, and they show kind of what happens when you are standing on the ground with a shoe, what happens when you're standing on the ground in a bare foot, what happens if you're standing on a grounding mat. So their videos show you that there is an effect on grounding. So it does show. So really the question is, we can prove via those, or I think in my mind, they prove that we can ground ourselves, that the earth grounds us. So literally talking about ground, it is a ground, literally the ground. So, okay, so I believe that. Now the question comes in, do I think it's sending something up into my body? Do I think my body is pulling energy in from the earth? And do I think the pulling in of that energy is affecting my body? So if I'm out standing on the grass or I'm out walking in the woods, it's not simply this oxygen that I'm getting. It's not just this deep, good belly breathing I'm doing that's feeding my body. It's not just the pumping of the blood through my system. That there's actually more than that. It's actually my feet touching this earth are pulling in these electrons. And that's what you need to do, right? You need to sit and say, what do I believe? This is what everyone's saying. This is science that's out there. These are opinions that are out there. These are the things that are very subjective that are out there. Here are some things that I can look at that point me into numbers and facts. And at the end of the day, you have to choose what you believe. So that's where I'm at. I need to make a decision. So what's my call on earthing? Here's what my call is. I know that these trees that I'm standing with right now, these trees communicate with each other. I've done enough reading and enough learning to know that nature communicates with each other. I know that these trees, they send signals to each other and warn each other of disease. It's called the microcortisol effect, I think it is. I know they have root systems that touch and communicate with each other. I know that the earth is living. I know that I am not a solid form. I am muscles and atoms and a big conglomeration of all these things that make me what I am. So, and I know that of the earth too. I also believe that there is energy, that we are all universally connected by this energy. So if I wave right now and I've moved the air, I have moved the air. I have put energy out there. I believe in energy. I believe that we were all connected by this universal energy. So if I believe all of that, I then say to myself, why would I not believe that the earth is giving me something I need to help me? I mean, it's just, we're all creatures in this universe. And so my belief is, yeah, earthing, there's something to it. And this chick here is going to continue to walk through the woods barefoot, although it's getting a little chilly out right now, so I had to put some socks on. But I'm going to walk barefoot whenever I can. I am going to put my toes in the ocean, in the water, and suck in those electrons whenever I can. I am going to do that and connect to the earth as much as I can. But I will tell you this. This chick is not buying an earthing mat. I did kind of think about the earthing shoes, because like today it's like really cold out, you know, and if I believe in all this, I'm like, well, I got to get this rubber soles off my feet. So it's kind of cold, and maybe the shoes, I don't know. But I'm not getting a mat. I don't think I'm going to, through a cord plugged into the earth, get this influx of something that's going to help me. I think it's the being out here. I think it is the physical connection. I sure hope this has helped you in some way. I hope that you can enjoy earthing or not, or just go for a walk and let it be a walk. Don't forget to like if you like this. Please do me a favor and subscribe if you want to hear more. Go to my website, www.beingunique.com. All about journey of self-discovery, my journey, your journey, our journey. I learn from you, you learn from me. The world's a better place. So, being unique. Your path, your life, your way. Because you need the authentic you, and the world needs the authentic you. Peace out, my friends.